Here we go.
Welcome back to the Locker Room Podcast. I'm your host, Colin Uvinsky. We got Ryan Rodriguez. We got Patrick F. Wright. And LRP Summer may have just ended, but LRP Fall is here. And we got another great guest. Let's just jump right in and introduce him. He's a rugby player for a team. You may have heard of it. It's called Team USA. Please welcome Cody Melphy.
What's up, guys? I appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Definitely.
Hey, man. So let's just kick it off. So how are you doing today? You having a good day?
Yeah, it was a good day. I mean, just got home about an hour ago, so finished up training for the day and kind of just relaxing, hanging out now.
I love that. I remember this whole planning. This has taken a while to get you on here because scheduling issues, time zone miscommunications, and stuff like that. So we're really happy to have you here.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here too. I'm glad that we kind of finally got it figured out.
It's been a long time. You know, when we first sent you that message, I was like, this guy would be awesome to get on. I thought it was a long shot, but thank you so much for coming on. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, no problem. I mean, I just like taking advantage of the opportunities, kind of just share the story. So, and that's what we're all here about. And rugby has a story of its own. And so like sharing that and then my own story and kind of just like bringing that to the table is something that I like to do no matter who it is, you know, podcast with one follower, podcast with millions of followers. You know, I'm down to jump on and just kind of give you guys a little bit of the information from my life and maybe inspire someone. Cause that's at the end of the day, that's the number one thing I want to do is help inspire someone to go a little bit further in their life.
Already, I'm in with it. I love that. So let's just kick this off. Let's start with a little background. Can you tell us about growing up? You know, what sports did you play? What really got you into playing sports? Because we know you played soccer in Colorado, so we'll ask you about that later. But, you know, what kind of got you to be Cody Melphy?
Yeah, I mean, I started playing soccer when I was 3 years old, and I started playing baseball when I was 5, and then kind of other sports kind of trickled in there: basketball, golf, wrestling. I was never allowed to play football. My dad just didn't like the concussion side of the sport, so he just never had me in it. But he always told me from the beginning, he was like, I just wanted you in sports. I love everything about sports. I wanted you in it. So soccer was kind of my passion, and all the other sports kind of just helped me out with soccer.
You know, funny you say that about football because my dad didn't let me play this year for that exact reason. And guess what happened in the first week of playing?
What happened?
I got a concussion. So
yeah, that's exactly why my dad didn't let me play. So, I mean, credit to him, I guess.
I think our dads would get along quite nicely.
Yeah, they probably would.
Yeah. So what kind of drew you to soccer more than the other sports? You said you played like baseball and the other ones that kind of came in.
Yeah, I think soccer was just at the time and for my whole life. I mean, I was really good at it. And just the aspect of the sport, like using your feet, not your hands, and like just being athletic in a different way kind of drove me to want to be better in that sport. And then obviously being good at something is something you want to continue doing. And it was kind of where my passion fell. Like my dad's passion was always baseball. So everything with him was like driving me to play more and more baseball. Everything he wanted me to do was baseball. And then when I like finally kind of quit baseball in 8th grade, going into 9th grade, he was like, you just threw away millions of dollars. Cause I was like, same thing. I mean, I was good at baseball too. I was like all-star cups, like, you know, things that, you know, not a lot of people did in athletics when they were younger, but I just didn't like the sport. And then as much as I liked soccer, and then like, you know, when you're a multi-sport athlete and you get into the higher levels, you have to play that sport all the time.
Yeah.
Or, you know, you're not going to be good at it. So I couldn't just focus on 3 different sports at 3 different times. I had to kind of choose what I wanted to play with.
Yeah. I think we can all resonate that, you know, Colin with hockey, Rod with baseball, and you know, I don't know if you know this, but I also play rugby. So this is kind of like a fanboy moment for me.
Okay, cool. No, that's awesome, man. I did not know that, but now I do.
Yeah. So we just finished up our season last year, had a pretty good season. So that's why I was like, we have to get this guy on.
That's awesome. Yeah, sweet. Well, great. I'm glad that you play rugby.
Dude, the other two on here, Ryan and Colin, were talking with me and they were like, we need you on here so you can talk with this guy if a rugby talk breaks out because it's like a different language to them.
Yeah, I gotcha. Yeah, it is a little bit different, but hey, I love hockey, by the way, and it's my second favorite sport. And obviously, baseball is something I grew up playing, so I can resonate with all three of you.
This is gonna be fun. All right.
Yeah, that's great. So so you said you played high school soccer in the past. Like, how was like the transition from like high school soccer in like Colorado, like D2 school in Denver?
Yeah, so um, I had like a major knee surgery when I was like going to ninth grade, and it kind of was another reason why I stopped playing, all the sports I was playing. And so like I went from like high level, top level soccer to kind of like that B side, getting back onto A side type team, and back, push my way back into varsity. And I only got one offer, which was in Hastings, Nebraska, and that was my only offer for soccer. And so I actually wasn't going to play, but my coach kind of gave word to Metro State, which is where I was going as a hometown, school. It was very affordable. I was living at home. I was like, I'm going to go here, just get my education. He kind of gave word to the coach, and the coach contacted me and said, hey, we got a 2-week trial for you. You can come out, you can try if you want. And I said, yeah, I'll come try to play. I walked on, and I ended up playing the most minutes that whole year of anybody on the team as a freshman.
That's a great accomplishment. That's a great accomplishment. So going back to like your freshman year, what do you think was like the biggest challenge or like, the biggest adversity you had to face going from like high school soccer to like the collegiate level?
Yeah, I mean, it was just high speed. It was way more training. You're in a full-time environment, so every single day I was training for soccer, lifts in the morning, soccer in the afternoon, and it just became my life. So it became something that you were, every single day of your life you were doing something. When you're in high school, you have all these other responsibilities, all these other things that you're kind of thinking about, and even other sports. I mean, I did wrestling as well when I was a senior. So and then rugby, obviously. But when you get into that environment where it's every single thing that you do is focused on your sport and your position and your part of the team, it's night to day of the difference of the level of competition, the level of learning, the level of ability to get better. It's a big jump, to be honest.
Definitely.
So after your first year of playing soccer, you kind of just stopped playing soccer. Did you just kind of fall out of love for soccer, or what happened there?
Yeah, I mean, I had a few different reasons. Like the main one is like fell in love with soccer, and I kind of had found rugby, in that year leading up to that, whereas like and rugby was like a new passion that like everything I wanted to do was rugby. And then it was that falling out of soccer, and it was kind of the way that the game was going for me. It was like, a lot of diving, a lot of like drawing penalties, a lot of like, stuff that I just didn't agree with and that I didn't like about the sport anymore. I kind of fell out of love with that part and that aspect of it. And then it was a little bit of the schooling, like I finished school at noon and I had to wait till 4:30 for my training. And if I lived at home, so it was an hour away. So it was like I'm sitting around for 4 hours. It's just like these little things that were ticking boxes of like why I should not do it.
Yeah. So were you still practicing rugby while you were playing soccer, or was it just a full year out of the game?
So it was like a mix. It was a little bit of a mix, to be honest. I did some at night, but mostly I was out of rugby while I was playing that college. That it was about 8 months that I was more or less out of rugby.
Okay, then what was it like was it like harder to get back into it, or is it just kind of like that right where you left off?
Well, I had only done so I started rugby my senior year, and it was like 2 months into my left of my senior year. So April, when we graduated, end of May. And so I didn't really have a ton of experience. And then I did 2 months of summer rugby sevens, and then which led into the soccer. And so I didn't really have like a ton of experience to kind of go back on, but I had lived at the time, I lived with my roommate, and he was the coach before that, Ethan Punier. He's just a couple years older than me, and he's from South Africa, so he knew a lot about rugby. And so we kind of like all we used to do is play rugby, watch rugby, and coach rugby. We started a team, and rugby kind of became that aspect. So when I stopped playing soccer, it kind of became everything about my life. And I joined a men's team, And like coming from soccer, like you have to be, very fit, fast, lean. So I was like 180 pounds, going into, men's 15s of playing guys who are over 300 pounds, showing up for tackle sessions with these full grown men who are 30 years old. And I'm 18, 19 years old trying to compete. And it kind of became this, like, you just have to put your head in there and you got to learn and you got to do it. And if this is what you want to do, this is what you want to play, you kind of just got to, step up to the plate and do it.
That is probably the truest thing I've ever heard. Honestly, when I first started playing, I started sophomore year, so a bit earlier than you. But honestly, so I went into it, I think I was like 270. I was a bigger guy when I was a kid. And after that first season, I was like, I love this, but if I'm going to love it, I don't want to be playing a prop.
Yeah.
So then I lost like a crap ton of weight. I went into the next season at 205.
Oh, wow. Nice.
Yeah. So I got thrown into flanker, which was really, I was like, all right, am I going to be able to do this? This is a pretty key position. So then my coach threw me. So the first game, the rule where it's like, you cannot touch the ball in a row if you're on the ground.
Mm.
I did that 5 times in a row in my first game. And I look at my coach and I'm like, what am I doing wrong? He's like, stop touching the ball. I'm like, all right, whatever. So then throughout the season, we just kept getting better and better. And he moved me to open side in the middle, that was a blast. But to finish that long little tangent, I think what you're saying is 100% true. If you're going to play it, you just have to do it.
Yeah, that's what it was. It turned into like, I am playing against full grown men. I'm a little ass boy, and I need to work hard. I need to put my nose in there, and I have to prove myself. And that's what it became. And I love the sport so much, and I love the culture of it, that I was just like, you're going to do it. You're going to do it. That's it.
It becomes an obsession, and that's what it was for me. It was like every day I'd wake up and I'd be like, I'm excited. I'm the type of guy that normally hates doing conditioning, but I'd go to rugby practice with a smile and finish conditioning with that same smile, because it's just like, we're out here all getting better together. And we had some players that very good this year. A couple of them are playing college rugby. One of my friends is at Colgate right now. A couple of them went different places, but they were stout and they really helped us learn a lot. So I think just what you said, truest thing ever.
Yeah, sweet.
So what kind of drew you to rugby? You said you started playing soccer, but can you elaborate on what drew you to play?
So I just had this buddy, who he's passed away now, so rest in peace, Jesus. But he was in the hallways at our high school, and he was like trying to recruit people, and he's like, hey, we're starting a rugby team. I'm starting a rugby team. He's like, I started rugby last year, I loved it, and I'm starting a rugby team here at our high school. And so he's like going to the football jocks, the track jocks, basketball, and I'm just this guy who, I knew a lot of them. I wasn't like super popular, but I was like overhearing this stuff, and I was like, oh, that sounds cool, like I kind of want to do that. And I just showed up, and I showed up and showed out pretty much. And it became like, the first practice was just so fun. And like the coach just threw a ball out there and was like, all right, go play, go tackle. And then like we'd do something wrong and he'd stop the play and he'd be like, you can't do that, do it this way. And then like Jesus was the only one on the team who knew rugby, and then the coach. And you're like, and it's a bunch of guys who never played this sport before, just like figuring it out. And then that like first weekend, we had our first game like within a week, and we went and beat this team 80-0. And we were just like, holy cow, like we're amazing. Like we're amazing. We love this.
My God.
Yeah.
80-0.
And it was the same thing. Like we had a guy get a red card in the game who like a high tackle lifted someone and dumped them on their head. And we're just like, we don't know, like, but things going on, and and that's just kind of, well, that's what drew me to the game, is like, and then the season, drug on for about 2 months. We ended up second in the state, and we lost by a kick. So a game-ending kick that for 3 points, like that's how we lost. And it was just like, but it was this amazing feeling of of accomplishment. And a bunch of us went on to play that summer sevens for 3 months. There was
Yeah.
12 of us, and we loved it. Like, we traveled across the US and played in 7 different tournaments, and we loved it. We had so much fun.
That sounds like a blast.
80-0. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
But wait, so where'd you grow up? What state is this?
Yeah, this is in Colorado.
In
So I was born and
Colorado?
raised in Denver, Colorado. Yeah. And it's funny because my dad was at that first game. And like, when I came home and told him I had joined rugby, I had just turned 18. And he's like, "What the F are you playing rugby for?" You know? And I was like, "Dad, just come to my game." And I went off. Like, I had like 6 or 7 tries in that game. And after the game, he was just like, "Whoa, I should have had you in football this whole time." Like, he was like so pumped about it. And now he's just been one of my top fans forever. Like, always, like, he's gotten so into rugby, and now he knows like everything about rugby too because of me. And like, he's become that guy who just loves rugby as a fan.
You said 6 or 7 tries? First
Go
game?
6 or 7. Go 6 or 7.
Yeah. Well, we had this thing, which actually I was just at my buddy's house while I was on break last month. And I remember he reminded me, and his name's Ethan Punier, who I lived with. He told me every single play of the first play of every game, try to score, see if they'll stop you. And every single game we started with a 7-0 lead that I played in because of that exact play. It was like, try and see if they can stop you. And we started 7-0 every single game we played.
Wow.
So why wouldn't you? Did you just continue doing that the whole game?
Well, 6 or 7 tries, yeah.
Oh my Lord.
Yeah, no, we were running teams like 120 points sometimes. Like, and it was a bunch of dudes that never played rugby before, but we were like top athletes in other sports that, you know.
That makes sense, because one of my coaches over at Prep, he played soccer for his entire life, just like you, but switched over to rugby. And he's like, he's a freak rugby player. He played at Villanova, and he's doing some big sevens team now. But
Nice.
he's just so fast. Like, the thing about, you can tell a soccer player from a rugby player even when you're playing the teams that we would play, because they would just go straight down the sideline and they were gone.
Yeah.
And we'd end up catching them, we'd stop them, and then they'd try to run some bull BS forwards move, and everyone else's forwards we crapped on. So it was kind of like, all right, good job, you lost the ball, we just scored.
Yeah.
But you could tell that those guys are insane athletes, and that's why we try to bring in soccer kids every year. So we'll go to the team, we'll be like, "Hey, you want to play rugby?" And we've recruited a lot of people just doing that. But
Yeah, that's kind of how it is in high school for, like, especially for rugby. It's just like, "Hey, you want to try rugby?" Like, nobody's really, not a lot of people have heard of it or know anything about it. But, you know, it's just like as easy as, "Hey, you want to try?"
I think the funniest time when we were recruiting was summer workouts for football, right? So I play football as well, like I said, and our coach would come because he had me practicing throwing since our line-out thrower just left.
Mm.
And he'd come to the workouts to see how I was doing, and my other friend, who, because we would have practice after, and he'd be like, "Have you guys been recruiting?" So mid-lift, we'd just be walking around to these people that are pumping insane numbers, be like, "Hey, you play rugby before? You want to try it?" So we ended up getting like 6 or 7 guys to come out just because of that alone. And then we also spread it to the football team, and we've
Nice.
just been
Yeah,
having so much fun.
that's awesome.
Now, what, this is going to be like kind of off topic, kind of on topic, but what got you the exposure to the Team USA and other sevens teams?
So I didn't get that exposure really until I was 24. So it took me 6 years. And I played 3 years of men's rugby. I worked from Division 3 to 2 to 1 onto a PRP side into the pro rugby. And then I got recruited out to Life University. I did 2.5 years there, 4-time All-American, 2-time in 15s, 2 times in sevens, and then a D1 national champion. Still no notice. You know, I did 1 U23 All-Americans tour. That was it. And then rejoined a men's sevens team called the Denver Barbarians back in my hometown. got second at nationals for men's nationals, then went to Rugby Town, Rugby Town, which is a big sevens tournament, the biggest one in the United States every year, and went and, MVP there. And at that point is when I finally got my first invite out to a training camp. I didn't get any like, hey, we want to sign you or anything. It was just invite to come see what you've got.
Yeah. That is honestly crazy, because I always thought, because I want to play in college, and I was just thinking like this either could be something that I finish up in college because I have so much fun with it. But just the exposure in that alone, like after you got MVP, All-American, and you still wouldn't get looks, like that's crazy to me.
Yeah, I mean, it's a grind, and it's something I've always dreamed of. I mean, when I joined at 18, I honestly, well, that first summer we went to the Las Vegas Sevens, which is the big HSBC Sevens tournament every year for the International Rugby Sevens in the United States. We went to that, and I went to that every single year for 8 years, and I dreamed, 6 years until I got on the team. I dreamed of being on that team. Like I said, like, I would just want to play one match. And that's what I always said. I always said it. I was like, I just want to play once. I just want one international game under my belt. That's it. And now obviously you see where I am, but I get to play it every single month. I get to play games.
Yeah.
So like, it's just that, but that's where that road came from, is like that dream of like wanting to continue. And, that Life University, that opportunity, when it came to me, it kind of came out of the blue, to be honest, because I was playing at Glendale for 3 years on a men's team. And it kind of was like, hey, you've got 2.5 years of college eligibility left. Cause I was 23. I was 22, I think. You've got 2 years of college eligibility, come play for us, and I was like, yeah, okay, this is going to get me further. And then, when you get there, you have to show out, you prove and get better and be the best. And then you get to the men's team, and then you get to the Rugby Town Sevens, and you kind of just have to keep kind of proving yourself. And that's what the road is, there is some guys in our program who were picked up at 17 years old, when they were old enough to play on an international team. Like there is guys who have been looked at and have been picked up at a very early stage. And there's guys right now out in camp. We have 10 guys right now in camp, who are between the age of 20 and 24. So like it happens. And it happens a lot. It's just your opportunity, and when you get seen is different from anybody else usually.
That blows my mind. Honestly, that's crazy to me.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you, I was about 1 week away from being done with rugby. After I graduated college, and I came back and was playing men's national sevens. Like, I had a great job offer because I graduated from college. I had a house I was going to buy in DTC, which is in Colorado.
Right.
And I was ready. I was like, I'm ready to just live the rest of my life. And then I got that opportunity. I got the call like, hey, we want to have you out. And it just same thing. It blew my mind. I was like, I can't believe that, I'm ready. Like, I'm literally like about to put on an offer on a house, and then now I'm going out to camp, and then I get picked up and I'm moving to San Diego,
Is that where the team's based out of? Team USA is based out of San Diego?
Yeah.
Who would have thought San Diego, out of all places, to base a team?
Yeah, exactly. There's an elite training center down here. It used to be Olympic Training Center. The management of Chula Vista, like the city of Chula Vista, took over, so now it's just called an elite training center. But there's a bunch of Olympians, Paralympians that train out of here.
That's got to be crazy, training on a national stage with all of these other freak athletes that you could just watch on TV when you were 18, 19, because they were already doing this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of weird to me when I was watching the Olympics and I was watching the Paralympics, and like my friends and like people I eat lunch with were winning medals, and I'm like shouting them out on my Instagram. I'm like, and then they're retweeting or reposting my Instagram post that I like said, congratulations for the freaking silver medal. That's just crazy. And I'm surrounded by people like that who are just there for a goal, and the goal is the Olympic Games and to get a medal, which is pretty awesome.
So when you first stepped out onto the field, like what with Team USA, what was that like feeling like? Was it just like I made it feeling, or is it like all right, or are you just dialed in like, oh, it's game time? Let's
Uh, so the I made it moment was when so our team selections, so we have 25 guys usually in residency, full-time guys, and 13 get selected for a tournament. So and to go play and like represent your country every time there's a tournament. And so my first aha like moment that was like I made it was when I got that email and the selection came out, and I didn't expect to make this tour that I made. So like I all of a sudden my name's there, and I was, my name's on there, like my name's like, you know, I'm there with my wife and, you know, family. I'm like, my name's on it, like I'm gonna be playing. And it was like tears, it was happiness, it was like, you know, it was nervousness, because like all of a sudden you're like, holy cow, I'm actually going to be playing against New Zealand. I'm like, oh my gosh, and like so much nervousness, you know, there's like all these like built up like just emotions coming into it. And then you get out to, so my first tournament was actually in Las Vegas at this tournament that I watched for 6 years and wanted to be on that stage. So like it just kind of happened that place was my first tournament place. And so, yeah, I remember sitting, you know, at the tunnel, about to run out in front of 45,000 people, standing there and like looking up and just like having these emotions, you know, these like, I made it, like I'm about to run out on the international stage, like I'm waving, like I have like, you know, like in the tunnel there's like, it's just like basketball is like you can, all the fans like are looking down, you know, as you're running out, or when you're coming back, people like trying to get autographs and stuff. Like I had friends of mine who I played rugby with, like Cody, like, you know, like let's go, and they were just like so pumped, and I got to experience that. And then we went on and we won a gold medal at that tournament, which was even crazier feeling than like actually getting my first kind of cap, my first start with the team.
So I'm just curious, like what is playing international like? Some of the other sports is like a big difference between like the way it's played here versus other countries. Is it different?
Yeah. There's a lot of different rugby. So we play in 16 team tournaments, and over a weekend, so 2-day weekend, we'll play 6 games. And so first starts in pool play. We play pools of 4. So we'll play everybody in our pool. And then from there, we get reseeded into a quarter, semi, and a final. And so if you make it all the way, you know, to the final, you play 6 games. There is like 5th place matches, 7th place. So you do play 6 all the way through. But every single team, we have breakdowns. You know, whoever we're about to play, we have breakdowns of, you know, what they run, what they like to do, what players are good, what players do, you know, what their breakdowns are, how they like to play us. So there's breakdowns of every single in and out of every team. And yeah, every single team has its different, there's a lot of like similar things. And like with sevens and rugby, there's only so much you can do. But yeah, there's a lot of big differences, and it is weird playing, and it's cool. There's certain teams that we're like, we match up really well against this team. Like we're going to go do really well. And then there's teams that like, man, this is going to be a dogfight, or we're going out there and, you know, this is going to be a dogfight if we want to win this game.
So like how long does that process take to like prepare for each team? Since you said there's 16 teams or something like that, like how long does that process take to prepare for each one?
So usually, so we have our pool. So like our pool's just got announced. So we're playing next weekend in Vancouver. And so we have four teams in our pool. So we'll be playing France, Germany, and Hong Kong. And so we start preparing for that. Now that we know that information, our coaches have started preparing for that. They have the team breakdowns. We start training. We put it into our training. Like, this is how they defend. This is how they defend. This is how they defend. This is how they attack. These are the plays they like to run. And so we start like learning and kind of putting into play of like, you know, how we can beat them. And then, you know, we get out there, we get to the country. So we'll get to Canada next Wednesday, and we'll be there for about 4 days before we play. And same thing, we got team meetings. We got, you know, all this information being kind of poured into us. And then it's game day. So then on game day, you're only playing one team at a time. So you have to focus on that one team. So that one team's breakdown is sent to your phone, is sent to your email. It's hanging up in the locker room, and you're kind of just studying that one team. And then there's a 50-minute rule. which is pretty much when we kind of come in as a team and we start getting ready. And at that point, you know, you get a coach's breakdown of like, this is what you need to focus on in the game against this team, and then you go do it. So it's pretty dynamic, it's pretty in depth, and it's a lot of information, but that's what we're paid for, right? That's why we're here.
Yeah, sounds like Team USA.
Yeah.
Definitely. So I kind of wanted to move from rugby towards the Army. So I know that, or we all know that you enlisted in the Army. So kind of talk to us about like how what made you want to enlist in the Army, and like how was that experience like?
Yeah, so the Army enlistment came actually after I went to that first camp, and I went to my USA Rugby camp, and they offered me residency, and the amount of money they were offering me wasn't enough for me to want to stay. And so I kind of told them I was going to be a remote player, so which means that I'll just come in for 2 weeks before tournament practice, and then if I do well enough, I'll get selected for the tournament. Which, to be honest, most remote players never get selected. So it was like I was kind of taking myself out of a situation where like I wanted it so badly, but I didn't want it that badly. And so I went back home, and I actually got a call about joining the U.S. Army and playing and being part of a world-class athlete program, which is something that the Army offers. And what it is, they identify soldiers who are top athletes, and they support them in trying to go to the Olympics. And so in the program, there's about 80, 90 guys who across all the sports, Paralympics and Olympics, winter and summer sports, that are supported full-time by the U.S. Army to train full-time. And so they kind of came at me about that offer, and they're like, hey, you can join the Army. You're going to be an active duty soldier, but you can train for USA Rugby. And so the Army will support your paycheck. So I was getting paid. So I did. I joined. The Army paid me, and I played for USA Rugby. And so that's kind of where the enlistment and me joining the Army came into play.
That's great. So wait, are you still? I guess are you still?
Oh,
Ryan, you cut out.
Rob, the
Ryan, you cut
McDonald's
out.
Wi-Fi.
Are you
is hitting
still
right now.
like with the Army, or like how long was that experience for?
Yeah, so I
God.
did.
Am I good now?
Yeah, you're good. Kind of good. I did 4 years, and I got out in February, and I have another 4 years of inactive reserve that I'm serving, because every Army contract you have to serve is 8 years. So I did my 4 years, one contract, and then I got out. So I'm no longer an active duty soldier.
Would you ever consider going back and enlisting again, or do you think that you're going to carry this, I guess you can call it, tidal wave of rugby and great success?
Yeah, so the Army, I'll forever be grateful for the opportunity, and it got me where I am today. Like, granted, I would not be where I am without the U.S. Army and without that world-class athlete program that I signed and joined. But it's not something that I look to ever do again in my life. I've gotten to where my biggest goals were, and now there's bigger goals, obviously, on this stage and beyond this stage that I want in my life. And so those are the things I'm going to focus on.
So what do you want to focus on next? I know you're a big rugby guy, but what else do you want to do?
So that's kind of a hard one to answer, just because I see rugby in my life for at least the next 3 years, and most likely the next 7 years. So I'm trying to go to the 2024 Olympics in Paris, and I want to compete in the 2028 Olympics in LA on my home turf. So, but beyond that, like, I would like to, start a business. I want to start a nonprofit for rugby athletes and underprivileged kids who are kind of in the lower income areas, because I started a team. It's called the Rocky Mountain Rebel Academy. Started that team with Ethan Pugnier. He now runs the team full time. It's turned into it was a U18 team. Now they've got U18 3 sides on both the men's and women's, and a U16 on both men's and women's sides. So, and now it's across like 5 different states. So it's developed into something big. But when we were coaching that team, there's a lot of islanders. There's a lot of kids from, lower income like areas that were very good at rugby, but had no money. So we wanted to we wanted to go on tour. We wanted to take these guys across the US. We want to play rugby. They didn't have the money, so we fundraise everything for them. So something I want to do is kind of figure out a way that I can help kids in that way. And it doesn't have to just be rugby. It can be any sport, but people who need the extra funds to be able to get the exposure that they need, because that's why we started the team. We wanted to send kids to college, and that's what we're doing now. And that's what the team does, is sends kids to college. And so that's the main goal of it. But the other side is being able to play the actual sport. And that's the fundraising side is. So that's something I want to do.
I love that. You know, I think not just rugby, but you're doing a good thing.
Yeah,
Not yet.
That's truly great. Like that's awesome. I mean, your stories is just phenomenal, from where you started with rugby to where you are, and continue what you're doing. It's truly great.
Yeah, you're gonna hear more about me. Don't worry.
Well, you
We're
know
looking
what?
forward to it.
I'm excited. You know, I love the tidal wave that's coming over America right now, and by that I mean nice guys like you trying to bring like the less fortunate up, and I love that. And I love how you're doing it with rugby. It doesn't have to just be with rugby, but I think you trying to bring recognition to rugby in the United States is also awesome, because all the people I've talked to have said like rugby is swelling right now. And I would like to think so, because if every kid could have the experience that I have had in this game so far, and I've only been playing for 3 years, and I've never loved it more than anything in my life, other than my mom and my dad. But you know,
Nice save. Nice save.
no, thanks, Mom. I love you, by the way, if you're watching this. But you know, I think the fact that it brought me this much joy, and I've played other sports. Like I played hockey for 8 years, 10 years, but it kind of intrigued me, and it keeps bringing me more and more in as I learn more about the sport. Because I don't know if you can vouch for this, but I'm 3 years in and I still don't know half the hand signs. I just go out there and I play my heart out, and after like me and the boys, we really get after it.
Yeah, there's a place for every athlete in rugby, and that's what I love about it. Is like, I mean, my father-in-law started rugby at 38. After he saw me play, and he was like, I kind of want to play rugby. And now, he's 45, and he still plays rugby. It's like, he plays for a D3 team that kind of just, goes out on Saturday, has fun, and then goes drinks afterwards. And like, and there's places for every single athlete in rugby. We had guys on our team in high school that had never played a sport in their life, and they're like, oh, we'll try rugby. And yeah, were they good? No, but they loved the culture. They came out to our food, dinner, team dinners, everything. Like they were part of the team,
Yeah, that team, the teammanship and camaraderie is just the best part about rugby, because you could be a bench player or you could be a starter, but at the end of the day, you guys are all going to practice together, work hard together, and after the game, you're going to go have a great night together.
Mm-hmm.
And that, like, just trying to spread that to more people is something I wish I could help with. I would love to help people understand. Like, I tried to get Colin to play.
I made a deal with you. If we win a hockey championship this year, I'll do it.
Yeah, exactly. So gotta bust my ass to help win a hockey championship, and then we
take it one at a time. We got to take it one at a time.
We get right on the pitch, and after we win, we'll ride off into the sunset playing rugby together. But I think everyone should experience it. Honestly, like, you may not like it, but at the end of the day, you'll still have the best time with your friends. And I remember my friends forcing me to join because I wasn't kind of intrigued by it. I was kind of scared. Like I said, as a kid, 260, I was like, this is going to be terrible. I hate running. It's the worst thing ever. I stepped out on that field after my friends literally carried me to that field, and I've never turned back.
Yeah.
I
That's
think
awesome.
That's just the most awesome part about the game. It's awesome.
Yeah, that is really cool.
Yeah, I mean, thank you so much for sharing your story with us. We really appreciate it. We want to thank you for your service in the U.S. Army. We love that. And we love that you're continuing to spread the game. We love that. It's always, everything you're doing right now is great, and we look forward to see what you've got coming in the future.
Yeah, I appreciate that, guys. Thank you. Thanks for having me on. And I mean, if I left you guys with kind of any words of wisdom or something that I've learned is two different things. One is trust the process because nothing's gone right in my life. I've and the second thing is say yes to opportunity. You have no idea how far just saying yes to opportunity has gotten me. That Life University thing was literally, hey, our semester starts in 2 weeks. Can you get out here? And me dropping everything, bringing one bag, living on a couch for a month, and starting something. The Army thing was just an opportunity that I said yes to because every other player on my team has been offered that, and I was the only one that accepted that. So saying yes to opportunity gets you really far in life, and trusting the process, because I promise you nothing's going to go the way you think it is going to go, and it's not going to be perfect. But at the end of the day, when you're living your dreams, nothing's going to feel better than that, because I literally accomplished my greatest goal, and now I have bigger goals, which is like crazy to me in my mind. I'm like, wait, all I wanted to do was play one game, and now I'm trying to go to another Olympics. It's pretty ridiculous. So thank you guys for having me on. I hope that I gave you guys a little bit of wisdom, gave you guys a little bit of knowledge into rugby, and kind of inspired maybe just one person out there to join rugby.
Just maybe.
Yeah.
Could you stick around for a second after we
Yeah.
stop recording? I want to show you something.
Yeah, no, I'd love to, because I was going to ask you guys some questions anyway.
All right, perfect.
All right. Well, this has been the Locker Room Podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. Locker Room Podcast Fall is off to a great start, and next Saturday, next episode is out. So we'll see y'all then. But until then, see ya.
See you guys.